We are live and orale. Bienvenidos and welcome to the Familia FFB podcast. This is your host, Jorge Martin Familia. It is on. It's time to look back while we look forward and look to my side. I got some amigos in the house. This is gonna be a good time. This is gonna be a good time. Also, I want to make sure first and foremost, you are following Familia FFB on YouTube. Make sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe. We got good stuff coming on, just like right now. And oh god, I mean, this is just a good time. This is a good time because this is a special episode because we're going way back. And into the future all at once. So back in February, I met Imran Pervaiz, and I hope I said it correctly.
Pervaiz, it's all good, man. It's all
Pervaiz, mi amigo. Yeah, he told me about this crazy idea they called Generations Fantasy. That's just like crazy, so crazy. I think it's gonna work. I think it's a blast. We can draft NFL players from the past and use their stats. So it sounded incredible. So today he's joined by his partner in crime, Nick Uzzilia. They're straight out of New York. So there's gonna be some good. We're gonna be coast to coast today. There's gonna be some good coast to coast energy going on. So mi amigos, welcome. Bienvenidos. Thank you for joining us, Nick, Imran. Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you having us, man. I really get to see you again, my brother.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. We had way too much fun in Vegas. So that was a good time. Nick, I think hopefully, I think we're going to get a chance to meet sometime this summer in Ohio. So we'll talk about that in a second. But first off, I want to make sure, Familia, you are following Generations Fantasy on Twitter at GenerationsFA10. So make sure to follow them because they got some really, really cool stuff coming. So and hey, we got some people in the chat. Oh, Dame Overboard, mi amiga. When I was telling our guests, our invitados, right before this, I said that one of our special regulars is really going to be a big fan of this. I think you're going to love what we're going to talk about today, Dame. So, and by the way, Dame, be careful if you get into a draft with her because she's gonna win. She gonna win. She listens to too many podcasts like this one. So yeah. So this is gonna be a good time. So mis amigos, you mentioned this. By the way, Familia, if you haven't already, after this, go listen to the podcast interview on the Fantasy Football Expo with Bob Lung. These two guys sat down and talked about it. So we talked about Generations Fantasy. So we're going to do a little bit of this, but then we're going to break, kind of get a little bit of the background, which may be a little similar, but we're going to get into a little bit of different stuff here and there to kind of make it a new and exciting show. So mis amigos, you guys mentioned that this was a pandemic baby. So I want to know kind of like, at what point did it go from, oh, this is crazy to, oh, this could actually be something cool?
Well, it kind of, Imran, if you don't mind, I'll jump in and.
That's all you, baby. You the daddy.
Okay. So basically, when sports were shut down, Rudy Gobert touching all the microphones, doing all the craziness, and the leagues were getting shut down, there was no idea about what's next. How are we going to continue to engage, and not in terms of just fantasy sports, but sports in general? Like, what's the new landscape going to look like? So I had a lot of quiet time, started working from home, just my wife and I in our little condo here in New York, and just started thinking and said to myself, why hasn't there ever been an application where we could incorporate sports from throughout the history of the NFL, mix with current players, and do something like a hybrid kind of platform? Literally started like on a TV show when you heard how fantasy baseball started. Called a few family members over to my cousin's house. We sat down on the deck. We had a couple beers. We had a randomizer on our phone. We had NFLreference.com up, and we started picking players randomly from throughout history. My father's an older guy, so he was picking old school players from the 60s and 70s. My uncle's was an 80s guy. I'm a 90s guy, and so on and so forth. So we were picking our favorite players and making lineups, fantasy lineups, grabbing their scores, then with a pen and paper, manually translating the scores from a random game throughout their career into fantasy points. And we were doing it manually on the deck for like 2 or 3 weeks. Then to get into a little bit more into if this concept is viable in the real marketplace, I started calling people that I trust in the tech business, in the fantasy business, people that I know are just very hard-headed and stubborn to ask them to tell me why this won't work. Why will this be the worst idea ever? And I had a lot of those conversations, and I had a lot of holes poked into this concept. Once I got over those hurdles and said to myself, this could be something, called up a few of my buds, Imran being one of them, and we have 3 other folks that are on the founding team as well as advisory board. And I said, hey, got this idea, really would like to bring it to market. What do you think? And again, same thing, ask them to poke holes in it, ask them to gain their buy-in and see if they were interested. After a few months, we kind of got on the same page, and we made every mistake you want to think about in the world, Jorge. We went down rabbit holes that led to nowhere. We took wrong turns. We were just 4 or 5 guys that didn't know anything about the creation of an application. We just knew this was a cool idea, something that we really dug, being fantasy football fans ourselves. And we were going to go down all these wrong paths to get to the right path. So we're almost there now. We're in market right now. The application is available on the Play Store and the App Store, just in a beta version, just to gather feedback and work out those bugs and get to the space where we could really blow this out with additional funding, which we're looking for via venture capitalists and investors and things of that nature. But most fun I've ever had doing a draft, talking so much crap and just having a really, really good time with your friends. And then again, how the games are scored and the customizable options, which I'm sure we'll get into it during the conversation as well. But really, really, really good time.
Yeah, Familia, I had a good time catching the YouTube episode that you guys did where you did an actual draft. I think it was 15 minutes. I think the trash talk was as entertaining as the draft itself, but also just the names that were just being thrown out there. Yeah. You know, you got Jerry Rice going out there, Barry Sanders, Jim Brown. I mean, you're talking about different eras and these guys are icons. These are like first level, NFL Hall of Famers, and they're on your fantasy team, and which I think is just an extraordinary idea. So just with the concept, I mean, you're going to have, you can set it up the way you want, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, however many receivers, tight end, and you guys still do kickers and defenses in there. So I want to know when you come up with this idea, how far back can you go?
So currently in the application, you go back to the 70s. We have players from the 70s. In the ultimate, we have Roger Staubach, all those guys, Lynn Swann, Terry Bradshaw. We have all those guys in the application. Again, this is the beta version. So we have about 400 to 420 players in there. Ultimately, what we'll do is add more as we continue to build it out. And one little piece of engagement that we're gonna start doing on a yearly basis is basically to coincide with a Hall of Fame induction. We're going to reach out to all of our users and have votes on who they want to see join the application every year. So we'll have like 10 players join a year and do like a fan vote on who gets into generations every single year. So it'll be a mix of old school players, new school players, and the fans and users will get a say in terms of who they see in the application based on who people want to see. So again, another way just to engage users and just highlight the fact that we're you, you're us. We're a fan of this, just like everybody out there is a fan of this.
And you know what? So I mean, and honestly, it's the Super Bowl era that you're talking. So I mean, and during the last 54 years, we've seen the passing game just go to a different level. The 80s, you had you had Eric Coryell with the Chargers. You had Bill Walsh bringing us the West Coast offense. Dan Marino set new records. I'm sorry, Imran, for that. And I know you're being a Jet fan. So,
I know.
But. So you really, you've got record holders that we're drafting. And so so going back to that point, so really you can have a team with Tom Brady on it and Eric Dickerson and, Antonio Brown. And, I mentioned Jerry Rice earlier. You mentioned Lynn Swann. just all these different guys. And when it comes to when it comes to league size, about how big are most leagues that you're setting up right now?
Well, at the moment, right now it's between 8 to 20 teams. So you have the options there.
Oh, wow.
So you have the option to do that. And then let's say a season It depends on on how many teams you have in the league. So what we do is we make sure at the moment that everybody can play each other at least one time. So if you have an 8-team league, the season's seven games long, and then you have your playoffs and then the championship. And then let's say if you have 20 teams, then you have 19 games going on until the championship. You have a playoff play and be able to see that as well. The other thing I want to add with the players too is you're not going to be able to see everybody that's new in the league, for example. So let's say if you got a rookie that's banging it out and killing it, they're not going to be the ones that's going to be in the league. So you have to have at least 3 years of statistics for variability, right? Because you want guys to have, good games, great games, amazing games, but terrible games, injury games, taking a snap and just taking a knee or whatever the case may be, right? So there's a lot of those situations we wanted to throw in there. So that adds like the variability and really thinking, do I want Jerry Rice where there's some variability there, or do I want to risk the higher pick and take a Barry Sanders? Well, I kind of know what I'm going to get. I might be a bigger banger every single time I play him. So that adds a little bit of sizzle to the concept too.
No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. I want to say a quick hello to Mr. Scampers. Muchas gracias for joining us. Thank you. And everybody else who's watching us also on Twitter and on YouTube. Thank you for joining us. I see the numbers are out there. This is fantastic. You guys are awesome for joining us right now. So that you mentioned that, Imran, you mentioned there. So if you draft LaDainian Tomlinson, that 2006 season is still considered one of the great, maybe the all-time greatest running back season of all time, where he had 31 touchdowns, over 2,000 scrimmage yards, just fantastic. If you played him that season, you lost. And I've played him a couple times, I remember, and unfortunately I didn't have him. But you're not guaranteed to get that season. So, which was a very interesting part of the video, the YouTube video that you guys had from the draft, where somebody drafted LaDainian Tomlinson and then all of a sudden got randomized a game from the Jet years. So, which again, I'm sorry for that. Is that there? You go, and you got the jersey. So, I mean, you got the logo there. So, hey, keep them close to your heart. But that's the thing. So, can you guys talk about how there is no guarantee that when you draft a player that you're automatically going to get his best player? Because I love this randomized this randomized option.
Yeah, I mean, I think the beautiful part of that is the fact that you can have a game where, let's say, a player comes in. Now there's a few things that get exempted, so I'll start from there, right? So your bye weeks, they don't count. They're not going to be part of the statistical data. And if they never took a snap in the game, that's out, because that's just not fair. Now, again, like I mentioned, if a quarterback sometimes comes in just to take a knee or gets injured, like 4 plays in, like Aaron Rodgers, that you're out. You got that unfortunate situation. But if you had a player that got in there and did a little bit of good, did a little bit of bad, whatever the case is, you're going to have that variability to see what you're going to get. But just being able to know that if you've taken a snap, that just adds a little bit of more. I'm going to say skill. I'm going to say, honestly, it's skill, right? Being able to say it's a skill in gambling at the same time, right? You're gambling at the fact that you might get a randomized opportunity where it's going to be a great season or a terrible season. Then I think a perfect example now is having Patrick Mahomes' season for 2023 really adds the variability, right? Because he was doing well, like almost at a point, if you had him now before we updated the statistics, it was a cheat code because he was doing really well almost every single game. With 2023, there has been, we've been doing some beta testing with some individuals, right? Shout out to Greg Kellogg, who's been really kind of pushing out kind of the beta testing. We got games of Mahomes putting up 13 points, and that's the reason people lost. Like, that's not something you typically see unless you had him last year, which I did in one league, which sucked. But I digress. But that again, that's just another sizzle to the game at that point. So now, again, even though you're adding these years, right, players are going to have now, good years, bad years. And if someone's really, really doing well, like a CMC, right? He had, games that were injured. You may get those 30-point games, those 20-point games, whatever it is. But if you get that one injury game at the wrong time during playoffs or during the Super Bowl, can't get mad at yourself.
Yeah, and that just leads, and to jump on Imran's point, that's the strategy piece. So again, some of the feedback we got was, hey, look, it's luck, it's random, it's this, it's that. Well, these scores are based off of actual production, and you have to take into a player's entire career into account. To your point, LaDainian Tomlinson, Jerry Rice was on the Seahawks, he was on the Raiders. Like, are you going to get a Joe Montana to Jerry Rice game, or are you going to get a random Seahawk game? Randy Moss, amazing. He did play in the Raiders too. He played in the Titans. So we have to think
the
about
Titans.
those. Yeah. So we have to think about those when you're drafting. So like if I think about a receiver that just pops into my head that I would pick, probably top receiver, that Marvin Harrison. The guy came in on top, left on top, had an amazing consistent career. And that's somebody you might want to target if you're looking for a number one receiver versus just a big name with all the records, because that individual has ups and downs and played for 20 years. So a few of those years are going to be dumpster fires. So again, that's a strategy piece. So we do try to add that part of the game where you are thinking about who you're drafting, not just, oh, I really like Rodney Hampton's one of my guys. I'm going to pick Rodney Hampton. I don't know about that. He's my guy, but I don't know if I'm going to pick him in an all-time draft unless I'm in like a 20-person league where I could just pick him up as like a flex or something.
Hey, I will tell you right now, Rodney Hampton helped me win my first fantasy football championship in 1992.
Oh, that's a throwback.
Throwback. In fact, of course, I also had Steve Young and Jerry Rice on that.
Okay.
But it was a touchdown only league, and they got me to the championship. And then, yeah, Young to Rice had a huge game, and Rodney Hampton still scored a couple touchdowns. So
you can literally pick that lineup again.
Oh, I literally could pick that lineup again. Yeah, you're right.
Throw in a Kelsey, throw in an Antonio Brown. Why not? Why not? Right? I mean, how good does that sound? You know,
because you're right about the variability, because you've got Tom Brady, who had that incredible career. He had that great 2007 season. He had that incredible season for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A couple of good seasons there, and then he had another 5,000 yard season. I think it was in 2013 for the Patriots. But then there's the first 5 years. But then there's like that first 5 years where he was really more game manager. And I don't think he threw 4,000 yards before he hit that. He had that monster year. So just that variability. I love that. I love that you do have to have like real strategy when you're going. So you talked about this. Kind of how big the sizes can be. How quickly can an entire season be played out? Because I know you can kind of you can play with how long the season should be, right?
Yep. So with the season length, currently we have two options. Again, the more blown out version is going to have even more. So you could do daily games or you could do weekly games. So if you have a 20 team league and you have 19 games going on, you can go for 19 weeks. Or you could go for 19 days and the season will be done as well. We are going to even have an hourly option where you could play games hourly if you want. You could do it bi-daily. Like, you're going to be able to customize everything. And that's really one of the big points of difference between generations and live fantasy, is the fact that we're not relying on live data. It's historical data. So you could basically do this for 52 weeks a year once we get to that point. And something, again, when we were getting those holes poked in the concept, something that came up time and time again, if any of the listeners out there or yourself have a question about, hey, I love my regular fantasy. Live fantasy is where it's at. Absolutely. I'm still going to do live fantasy. Live fantasy is a beautiful thing. Live fantasy lasts 18 to 22 weeks if you're doing daily in the playoffs, right. Something like that. You can do this for the rest of the year. The other 30 weeks out of the year, you have this. On a Wednesday, you could have a league going on a Wednesday, and you could do this. So this is in no way trying to take the shine off of live fantasy. We are not trying to supplant the king of the jungle. We are just trying to live in the jungle and supplement and supply a different experience for folks throughout the entire year. And those off days when there's that itch for some football, this could be the answer for it.
And that's what I love about this, because that's why I'm glad we're doing this now, because we're not going to have real football for 5 months. And I know people can play the UFL and everything like that. And, God bless you on that one. I'm waiting for the real thing. But I mean, you could do that. And you mentioned the hourly thing. So we could I could be at a Familia get together and say, hey guys, let's have a draft right now. And then, and we could watch it play out over a family get together. Correct?
That's going to be in the next version. Right now, there's only the daily and the weekly option. So you could start up a league, and then you could have daily games going throughout the whole next 19 days if it's a 20-person league, or 8 days if it's an 8-person league. So you can control it to that extent now. Ultimately, when we do, again, more add-ons and blow it out a little bit more, we're going to add those features into it all as well.
So, doing this type of league, I touched on the fact that you could do this to kind of like fill in the time. But I mean, how some of the feedback? What has been some of the feedback that you got from people who really, really enjoyed this concept?
Imran, if I give just a couple examples, would love to hear your examples with some of the beta leagues that we have. But initially, it gives barbershop talk, and I know I probably haven't been to a barbershop in a while myself.
That's all right.
But it gives credence to barbershop talk as far as your generation versus my generation. We have all decade leagues where you could pick players from a specific decade versus players from another decade, all franchise leagues. I'm a Giant fan. Some of my best friends are Bills fans, 49ers fans, and we could sit there and talk about the Giants playing the Niners in the playoffs or the 91 Super Bowl, all that good stuff. We could have those conversations. Or you could pick the best Bills team. I could pick the best Giants team, and we could play it out almost like the Madden simulation, but again, based on real statistics and real output. So we've got a lot of positive feedback in terms of what the customizable features are. How are we settling arguments? What are we doing to, and we kicked this off with trash talk. Like, how am I beating you? So right. it again gives that different little twist. But we also do have some live beta tests going on right now, and Imran has been spearheading those. So I would love to hear from him as well.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, like, this is why we want people to kind of play with it, right? Because we want to literally break it as much as we can so we can work to improve it. And at the same time, being able to hear what the users want and being able to get this test league. Also, shout out to Tip Major, who's also a part of that test league as well. Yes. But he, the best thing, a few things, right? So we have something called the queue. And what the queue is, it's an ability to be able to save your priority, like on how you want to be able to have a draft set up. But we did have, during the testing, we had some issues with how it was prioritizing and being able to kind of flex around it to make sure we wanted to really prioritize truly to what the user wanted. So we thought it worked, but of course, beta testing is beta testing. So that's something we're just trying to improve on a little bit. But the good thing about it is that everybody can still go in and play with it and set it up. But the organization of it and the prioritization piece, that's something we're still working on. So appreciate everybody's patience on us developing that a little bit. In addition to the roster spots, right? So currently the standard leagues I've set up, it's quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flexes. So we don't have kickers and defenses at the moment, just because, especially with defenses. Yeah. I mean, especially with defenses, we were actually playing with the concept, but it's hard when you're not trying to IDP it, right? I think if you're not going for an individual player and you're trying to go for an entire defense, it's just super difficult to try to systemize all the statistical data or even get the data all together as a defense, right? That's kind of a sticky part that we're working with. And then kickers, I know, but unfortunately, nobody likes kickers. I still like kickers. I like it. I'm sorry, it is what it is. But yeah, kickers, unfortunately, are not part of the league. We do have the data, though. We have tons of kickers, but we can always add that in again. And this is why we have the beta testing, just to make sure everybody can play with it and find those holes. So right now we don't have bench spots, and the reason being is because there's such a massive pool of players. So we got like mixed feedback. People like that because there is no bench spots. Because the second you drop somebody, there's no waiver period. You scoop, right? So as you see things drop and pick up, there's no such thing as a waiver because there's so many players. Like, everybody's going to have a stack squad, but how do you want to strategize that stack squad? So again, that's another piece, right? So we're trying to figure out, again, either a way to fix in the bench spots or make it a customizable option. And we're just working with our dev team to be able to see what's the easiest way to try to get that done and implemented. Because I do want to throw out there, we're a completely self-funded team. Self-data scraping, literally 5 dudes, like Nick said, just trying to figure it out, where it's just us, a group of other advisors, and then our dev. So whatever we're doing this by hand. We don't have like a huge tech background or stack squad working with us, or a whole squad of Yahoo and ESPN and Sleeper. We don't got that. That's just us dudes who I go to work every day. I come home banging this out. I also got to take care of the kid. You know what I mean? So like, there's a lot going
Familia.
On. Yeah, Familia, baby. But the beauty of it is to say that we built this and we put it out there, just us dudes, and just asking the people to give us a little bit of wiggle room when they give us the feedback. Don't kill us too hard, but definitely stab us. Just don't kill us. But those are some of the bases, right? And then a couple other just smaller minor maintenance things. So for some reason, we actually forgot the ability to switch players within the roster. So take your flex into the wide receiver. Such a simple thing, but we forgot it. So we got feedback saying, hey, I can't switch my roster. I said, oh, okay, we'll fix that. Yeah. So we're getting that fixed as well, part of the next update coming in. So again, that's why we need users to come in, because we could be forgetting just the smallest thing of convenience. So again, just putting that out there so far as some of the feedback we got, but overall, just people enjoying it, having fun. The trash talk is crazy. If you look at Greg Kellogg's Twitter post, it's amazing. It's amazing. And again, it's a small group, but people are looking at it. People are enjoying it. And this is what we want people to embrace. Just trying something new, giving us some feedback. Because end of the day, we're just regular dudes. I want to just make the best possibility for everybody to play fantasy with their family, with kids, with their grandfathers, grandparents, because everybody can enjoy it throughout, right? Everybody, like you said, everybody adds their flavor of their their thoughts of football. And we can put it to the test via barbershop talk, family talk, porch talk, whatever kind of talk you want to put out there. The Familia talk, just make it happen, right? And we can prove it with generations.
Hey, Familia FFB is basically here because of trash talk that happened at Christmas, however many years ago, and now it's a podcast. So, I love it. So I again, Familia, I want to recommend when you go to Generations Fantasy, their YouTube page, watch that draft out. I love the trash talk that you guys had in there. And Nick, you wore the original, the OG LT jersey, whereas I think Imran, you chose LT 2.0. So in yours, so that's how you ended up with the Jet year, the Jet days. So
listen, I stick with it, baby. I bleed green, no matter how trash we are.
Love it.
You know what? It was crazy. I'm a Met Jet Nick. Like I would, and the Knicks, but again, Julius Randle injured, but like I stick with it. I'm dedicated. I'm loyal. You can ask my wife. I'm loyal. I'm sticking with it all the way through. No matter how much they beat me up and how much money they chewed out from me from tickets that I buy to go to the games, I will keep doing it. I saw Zach Wilson almost beat Pat Mahomes.
That's
if
right.
we would have won, I would still be talking trash about that. But you know what? Again, it's just that dedication. I can't break it, man.
And you'd have the jersey, though. I would recommend getting the Wilson jersey with number 17 instead of.
You know what's crazy? So funny that you say that. I know the Jets are going to change their uniforms, but usually in a lot of leagues that I'm in, we always add an additional fee to our buy-in for being able for the champion to buy their MVP jersey. So just a quick story. I'm a two-time champion in this league. But in early stages, I had stole Mostert in the draft. I got him like maybe the 13th round or something, or 12th round. And then through 4 or 5 weeks, I traded him for Breece Hall straight up, just because I'm a Jet fan. And I was like, you know what? I got a chance. So for my birthday weekend, I actually flew out to Denver to watch Breece Hall's game. I also got the Williams brothers signature. I got Conklin's signature, Tanzel Smart. It was a great day. I was able to just go as a one-day trip for my birthday. My wife let me go, and I had a hell of a game. Watch Breece Hall murder it, destroy it. And it took me to a charge to the championship. I played the dude who had Mostert, who I traded with. So we're playing each other in the championship, but of course, Breece Hall did his thing. I got myself a stitched black Breece Hall jersey. I got crazy amount of Jet jerseys, ridiculous. But the newest edition is my all black Breece Hall jersey because I have to talk that trash, baby.
That's phenomenal. That is phenomenal. I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So, you mentioned that draft. So I want to find out, is there an ideal strategy when you're going into this draft? Because I mean, you could conceivably go heavy on a position early and you could wait on whatever you want, right?
You could wait on whatever you want, but it does go back to that variability piece. So you want to think about consistency. You want to think about their career. So something we do have in the application, it's deep. Like Imran said, we have a lot of data in there. So you could literally look up players and see their entire career, their statistics year by year, game by game, to see how consistent they actually were throughout their careers. But a rule of thumb for me is I think about quarterbacks. There's going to be, and again, you're talking about the all-time greatest, so it's not like you could go wrong. Your team's going to be stacked in a 20-person league regardless. But for me, like I think about Peyton Manning, where yes, he had his rookie season. He had the bad season with the neck injury and all that good stuff. But overall, Peyton Manning is probably one of the best regular season quarterbacks ever. Marvin Harrison, my favorite running back player kind of all time, Marshall Faulk. I think about how consistent he was when he was on the Colts with the Rams, retired at the right time, didn't really have too much of a downturn. I compare him to Christian McCaffrey today, like those two. I threw some up on Twitter. asking folks for a 3-year stretch, fully healthy. Who do you want in your backfield, Marshall Faulk or CMC? And you could kind of like go back, but it looked like he was thinking. So I want to hear what's your answer to that question. Who are you taking?
Wow. And I'm a Ram fan, but an LA Ram fan. Though, I have a complicated relationship with that St. Louis team that won. Yeah. Though I had Marshall Faulk in that period of time. I think gosh, it's almost I think I actually just lean Marshall Faulk just because of the colors, and I grew up hating the 49ers and then eventually respecting them because they were just so damn good. So I think I'd go Marshall Faulk, but just barely, like 51-49, because I mean, yeah, you take a 3-year stretch of CMC, and I mean that great 2018 season, and then the last 2 years of CMC. Maybe Faulk, just because he didn't have like the 2 injury years like CMC had the last couple.
And those are the questions that you have to ask yourself. So you're going to be faced with those things. So again, going back to some of the naysayers, and of course there's always going to be that, and that's what makes everything better, is being challenged and being asked these questions. As far as what makes it fun, those questions that come up make it fun, because you are going to be in a draft and you can pick CMC, but you can pick Marshall Faulk, and you're going to have to think about those things. One of our buddies, he went a very unconventional route. He had 2 running backs in a flex. He had Bo Jackson, Herschel Walker, and Jim Brown. So again, very eclectic, but like I could see the logic behind it. Jim Brown having this short, amazing, skyrocketing career. Bo Jackson, one of the most physically gifted running backs ever, didn't obviously hit his full potential, and Herschel Walker just being a physical beast. But again, not living up to that Dallas trade hype when he came to the Vikings from the USFL. So definitely very interesting strategies that you can take. My thought process is who was the most consistent, and then you're always going to have a pick or two towards the end that go with your heart. So John Elway's my dude. Like John, I'm a Giant fan. We had great teams every single year I've been alive. Every decade I've been alive, we've won a Super Bowl, which is amazing. But we haven't had too many superstars. John Elway, like as a quarterback, I always respected him. I love the way the guy played. So that's like my sentimental pick that I usually lean towards.
Of course, Phil Simms totally outplayed him when they
yes, he did.
When they played
86.
Super Bowl. Yeah, 22 of 25. I think you mentioned that's your team. That's your all-time team. So that it's funny. Like so many people romanticize the 85 Bears. I don't think enough people romanticize the 86 Giants, and who I think are every bit the team that the 85 Bears were. Though I think it's just because the Giants kept winning.
That's right. They were consistent after that, and they actually, again, you got the 85 Bear defense, best defense of all time, if not best, top 2 or 3. But the Giants actually had a pretty solid defense then too. Plus they had a better offense than the Bears did. So again, all these things are debatable, and now you could pick and choose who you want from these legendary teams and make something of your own.
Oh man, and Imran, you're grabbing Namath, right? For the Jets, right? When you're doing. No,
I'll go Rodgers, baby. I'll go Rodgers. I'll take him right there. Yeah! I got to. You know what's crazy? So the funny thing is, right, when it comes to strategy,
now you claim him.
I'll claim him to no matter what. I'll take him. That flag run, whatever yards he took on that run, I'll take that flag run. But the funny thing is, so we had like beta testing leagues where we were testing in the beginning just to make sure things worked. So I built a queue and I let it rock. There were leagues where I won the championship, and there were leagues where I lost every single game. So it's strategy is one thing, but the randomization, you just don't know. And I think that's no matter how much you think, how much you try to strategize. So one strategy I did in the beta testing with Greg Kellogg was I just kept rotating players every week. So there was a few core players. Aaron Rodgers was my QB. Didn't change that. I had Marshall Faulk. I had Antonio Brown. And everybody else, and Priest Holmes. Everybody else, I just rotated with whoever was available. And one week I snagged Todd Gurley, banged out a great week, dropped him. Then I picked up another wide receiver. I even picked up I think I picked up Jeremy Shockey one week, and I got a nice week out of him, dropped his ass. Like, so it was like the consistent rotation. Sometimes you just gotta take gambles on certain player positions. you keep your core. I think so. People do like zero RB strategy and whatever case strategies are. You can kind of go with that core that you want and try to rotate. So that's what I did. I ended up being second place in that league. So strategies can come and go. It's just everything kind of changes because you're not going to get your regular fantasy strategy now. You really got to think, longevity, the different type of careers that people have had, the different types of generations of football, right? Like you said, it's a passing league now. You have to think, if I'm going against a team with a more current roster, how can I maybe make my roster more current to compete with that team? It just, or do you want to say, you know what? You picked up the 2010 squad, whatever. Okay, I'm going to go 80s and prove the fact that my 80s squad will dominate that no matter what you guys did. Perfect way to put it to the test. And also educate across generations. Like, you have no idea who this person is. Boom, let me show you a thing or two about whooping it, right? Boom. And it's like, I can't believe, how did this guy get 30 points? And you look at his statistics, you're able to click as soon as the game's finished, the points that they projected, you can see what game it was, what week it was, that the team lost or won. And you can actually start to look back and say, wow, and watch the kind of the game itself. So it just ties in with education, fun, and we're all gamblers at heart. Even though maybe we may not put money down, if we don't put money down, whatever it is, we're putting emotions down, we're putting trash talk down. We're all gamblers at heart, and this is the way to gamble in maybe a safe way.
And if I could just jump on real quick, I'm so sorry. Just wanted to add on because Imran brought up a great point. During the development of the application, we actually connected with a few former NFL players just to get their thoughts. And to a person, about 3 or 4 of them, they all they're retired now. They all said, we wish something like this did exist when we just retired, or this is something that the NFL the Retired NFL Players Association should pick up, or something like that. And, we were asking why. And then we started deep diving into these conversations. And the average career of an NFL player, as we all know, is very short, especially nowadays. And I use this guy as an example all the time because, again, was on my rivals, was on the Niners, was on the Eagles, but I respected the way he ran, Ricky Waters. So Ricky Waters was a beast, and he always hurt up the Giants, and he was just a great running back. But if you talk to anybody born 3-4 years after he retired, they don't know Ricky Waters. You don't. Priest Holmes was a name Imran brought up. A lot of folks don't know Priest Holmes if you're of the younger generation and you don't look back. So this breathes life into all these greats that folks might not have seen. Another addition to the application we intend on adding again in the future is actually showing highlights of the plays that these players scored from. So if Peyton Manning dropped 30 one day, you're going to see the passes he threw, who he threw them to. I'm sure a lot of them are going to go to Demaryius Thomas, that his record-breaking season, Marvin Harrison. But you're going to see those things. And now, if you're in a 20-person league, you might want to do some research. Okay, I see X, Y, and Z. Tony Dorsett was a great Dallas running back. Let me go to YouTube and look at some of his highlights. Let me go to NFLreference.com and check out his statistics. So we're trying to also breathe life into these greats that the younger generation just doesn't know. No fault of their own. It's just this is the time that they're living in with live statistics and everything and live fantasy. You're not looking back. You're looking now. You're looking at what Mel Kiper is talking about. What's he talking about, Marvin Harrison Jr. and all that good stuff, and not looking backwards. And again, it's a good balance because we do have those current players, but we do want to pay respect and homage to the players that came before and breathe new life into them too.
So you mentioned a few players who are some of your favorites. Any other favorites that you guys have that you personally like to draft?
Barry Sanders, near and dear to my heart too. And again, he's a boom or bust, but Barry will give you 2 yards through 3 quarters in 12 minutes. But in that last 3 minutes, he'll give you the 70-yard run, breaking the tackle. Yes. He was definitely my favorite. Him, Herman Moore, Brett Perriman, Scott Mitchell, those teams, I think they went to the playoffs, maybe won one game in 91 or something like that.
91, 92, thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, and like the struggle that he went through, and he's somebody too, retired on top, could have probably played for another 5 years or so, but I actually took a step back and said, okay, I'm done with this. So Barry's definitely one. Barry, Marshall Faulk, and Megatron. Like those are guys that I would sit there. And I think I said Marvin Harrison before I met Megatron. Yes, Megatron's my dude because he just sat there and had such a stellar career, was the most prototypical big wide receiver that you could want. And again, we'd probably be talking about him in the same breath as a Randy Moss and a Jerry if he did continue his career and stay consistent and just wanted to stick with it. So those guys definitely stand out for me.
And we still haven't found another Megatron. Nobody that big that can move that fast. I mean, geez, 6'5", 240, and he flies.
And if I could throw this one more in, and Imran, I'm gonna turn it over to you. No, I talk a lot. I apologize. So one guy and my cousin talked crap to me about when I brought this up with the podcast with Bob Lung. But I'm gonna say it again. Arian Foster, for those few years, definitely took a downturn once he got to the Dolphins. But those Texans years were something that were like lightning in a bottle. My cousin dropped him 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes before week 1 of his rookie season. I picked him up, and the guy got a championship out of him just from that. So, John, that's for you. Just wanted to reiterate that and maybe bring up a old wound. And I'll throw that over to you.
I mean, the few players I like to go for is LaDainian Tomlinson has been somebody I always try to get just because I don't know what it is. I just love LT. I feel like a low-key cheat code somehow still, just because the position is tight, is Travis Kelce. I so far, like a lot of the times when Travis Kelce gets picked, that team does go out a long way, right? You're going to still get some weeks where it's, might be bad games or whatever the case is, but Travis Kelce seems to be, and I kind of hate giving it away, but it seems to be like the cheat code right now in the system. But when Mark Andrews continues to maybe get some better seasons in, that could be another thing. Sam Laporta is going to hopefully get 3 years of greatness in him. That could add some more sizzle. If Brock Bowers somehow maybe comes to the Jets and Rodgers makes it, somehow 3 more years with 3 Super Bowls straight in a row, and he's an all-time God player, it might happen. Just got to speak it to existence, right? So, again, that's the possibility of hopefully working that position up a little bit. But if you don't draft Kelce, it's almost like the strategy I said. You kind of got to rotate your tight ends, and you could stick with maybe a couple, but you're going to have to rotate that a little bit. Priest Holmes, Jamal Charles seem to be like a rotation of mine. I try to get one or the other.
Oh yeah.
I love Rodgers. I even before he was a Jet, Rodgers in general is just, you get a lot of great games out of him. Wide receivers, I guess Antonio Brown before he went a little loco. Antonio Brown, you got to love the guy. You got to love the guy.
The Pittsburgh years were as consistent as it gets.
I think it's funny. I actually got his first Patriot game where he got like run reception for 17 yards, I think. I got that game. I was furious. I was like, wow, you get it. It actually happens. And it happens to me.
That was the only game, too. His only game.
Literally the only game. I literally got that game. So, yeah, variability, baby. You gotta love it.
You couldn't have gotten like week 16 in 2018 season when he went for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns that helped me win a championship. So, I'm going to say a quick hello to a couple people in the chat.
It's funny you mentioned that game because I remember I actually played against that Antonio Brown and I still won that matchup.
Oh, wow. Yep. You must have get there.
I think I even have a snapshot of my photo library somehow just because I send it to him every now and then.
Oh, man. My primo friend Martin from the only Raider fan in Texas. I watched Megatron go nuts versus the Cowboys. He had 330 yards. I remember that game. That set the NFL record. That set the NFL single game record. Also, I don't know if we said this. I shout out Mr. Scampers. Muchas gracias for joining us. Salud, brother. I wanna. So we now. Is there a possibility the NBA and MLB may be joining this at some point? So
something, and again, this was football we wanted to start with because obviously it's king. I believe it's something like 80% of folks that play fantasy sports play football. It makes sense. It's our passion as well. So we just thought it made the most sense to introduce this concept on the football platform. Definitely have plans for baseball and basketball. I've been toying with something that Imran's not a fan of, but I'm going to bring it up anyway, Imran. I'm going to say it. So something that I would love to do at some point in the future. This is definitely down the line. I would love to intermingle the sports to make it a fully customizable platform where you could have a pool of players. The league manager could set, I want 3 NFL players, 3 baseball players, 4 NBA players, a hockey player, a soccer player, whatever it is. and you could have a team with Ken Griffey Jr., Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, and you could intermingle these because, again, since it's historical data and it's something that you could pull from any time, you could create this and you could have the game start whenever you want them to start and the statistics generate whenever you want. So I feel like a by sport, customizable amalgamation of everything is what I would love to see some point in the future. Obviously, we want to make sure that the concept is viable. It makes sense. It works. It functions. But it wouldn't be anything more than just setting up a couple more databases, doing some more information scraping, and doing something like that. But again, wanted to start with football, just knowing the vast popularity of football. I think it would be so cool to have those sports intermingle and like it be customizable to the user to create a league with the sports that mean the most to them. So again, just a thought for the future.
Well, I was going to say, if anything, the one thing we're trying to figure out is how to get the point system to work, right? And I think this is maybe a perfect opportunity for people to start chiming in, right? So I think if we put it out to the people, like, what are your examples or what are your thoughts on how we could commingle it, but also think of a point system? So I guess the basic line of it for me is being able to maybe set each section of the sport to its normal ways or standard set and let them get points that way and kind of just add it up. But let's put it out to the people. What do you guys think is the best way to maybe figure out how we can commingle it and create a point system? So we'll leave it out there.
That's fantastic. Well, hit them at Generations FA10 on Twitter. Throw a DM, and if you got suggestions or definitely add a comment here and there. So, such a fantastic idea, Misami. It was such a fantastic, and you're going to be one of the presenting sponsors at the one of the main presenters at the Fantasy Football Expo. Can you give us a little bit of a preview for what's coming in Canton, Ohio in August?
Sure. So in Canton, Ohio, we are going to be the breakout day sponsor. I believe it's on Sunday. We'll have 30 minutes of stage time. We were actually planning on starting some leagues and doing a live draft with some participants and have folks go against folks in the fantasy world, the content creators, popular folks within the industry. Jorge, if you want to be one of the members and be part of the draft, you're more than welcome. So we want to kind
of. Will there be beer?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Will.
So.
Absolutely. All day. So by the time the draft comes around, you might be picking somebody you might not mean to, and that's all good. So we want to really like engage folks and give like a live demonstration of how this works. Obviously, anybody listening, watching, if you want to check it out before, you most certainly can. But this is going to be an opportunity to demonstrate it live in front of everybody. Of course, we'll have swag, giveaways, things like that. And just answer questions because, again, we are at the stage where we're small enough to pivot. So if the users are saying, hey, I don't like this, cool, like we'll change it. Or, hey, we really love this, let's amplify it. Great, we'll do that. And again, we're very, very accessible. We are a Twitter message away, a YouTube comment away. Again, regular guys. We do have 9 to 5s. This is our heart. This is our passion. This is where we would like to hang our hat in the next year or so and do this full time and make this something bigger than it is today, bigger than more than a beta, but something that's a market leading application. And again, it starts somewhere. Somebody in the audience tonight might give us that jewel that takes us from where we are today to that next stage. So very, very accessible, very open to feedback. And again, super, super humble and appreciate your time and everybody who's taking a listen or watching right now also.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. You give us the now and so we need to do a draft no later than Canton, but hopefully Imran, I'm a text message away. Just if you need one more player to get an even number. So
well, you know what? We're gonna throw this out there too. I think I've mentioned it to you, but we're gonna do once we get our most recent update in and we test it out to make sure it's all good. We're trying to do a big bang out league of 20 folks, us founders included, some content creators. We have some people in mind. I would love to have you and make sure you're a part of that as well. So we can have a nice opportunity for a nice full testing of a 20-team league where we could really put our knowledge to the test and have some fun. I've been teasing you a little bit, but this is the official invitation. It's all yours. You definitely got a seat in there because once we get this update out, we test it out, make sure it's smooth. We get some players updated in there. we're gonna have some fun, man. We're gonna have some fun. Take this into Kenton for sure.
Well, I just had my last baseball draft, so I'm definitely like rounding into football mode. So you know, and I'm like, other than doing underdog drafts, I'm going to be jonesing by the time July comes around with the Scott Fishbowl and stuff like that. So Imran, you mentioned a little. We talked a little bit about the cookout group. You know, I think it's so great that it brought us together. You know, just what has been great for you since joining this. By the way, I'm wearing this shirt, so.
Oh, sweet. I definitely gotta get me one of those, that's for sure. But like, so like, I think clearly, like Nick mentioned, we're not fantasy experts. We're not in the industry for X amount of years. I'm a fan. I read your stuff. You know, I watch everybody's videos, and I'm a follower. Like, I'm the guy who subscribes and gives you likes. You know, that's me. But when it's, you know, we literally shot our shots with so many different people, and I have to give a few shout outs at the same time, right? So the first person that gave us even an opportunity to get a part of the cookout was Marcus Grant. And it was literally just a LinkedIn message. You know, I'm a banking professional, so my LinkedIn is, I guess, a little professional, so it looks legit. It's not a scammer, right? So I guess it's approachable. So shot a message to Marcus and said, hey, this is what we got going on. Just wanted to get your opinion and maybe see if there's any interest, right? And this is right before we actually had the application. And he's like, hey, this is dope. Like, this is a great idea, but let's see something, right? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll make sure you see something. We got cooking, and we then found out about the FSGA, and that was kind of close. We were trying to do something with the elevator pitch and try to pitch out there for the competition and try to get some acknowledgement there. We missed the cut there, but I said, you know what? We're going to try to get ourselves out there. And again, we're a tight-knit squad. It's like I said, self-funded. So we got myself out there. Instead of the five guys, I was able to get myself out there and just connect. And before even doing so, we got the app out there 3 days before FSGA. No, 3 days actually before the Super Bowl. Sorry, 3 days before the Super Bowl. So by the time we got it out, shot a message to Marcus, say, hey, it's out. Take a look at it. He said, you know what? I got a squad that's going to say this is some pretty dope stuff. Let me get you in there. And he dropped us into the cookout where all you guys in the group was like, who the hell are these guys? What's a Generations Fantasy? He introduced us. And Chris Allen, another huge shout out. That man is a blessing. That man is a blessing. Chris, I love you, bro. Like, he like the fact that I even got a little bit of time to connect with him, he made it a point to meet me at FSGA. I was sitting there 9 a.m. waiting because that's the New Yorker in me. I'm early. If you're early, you're late. So I was there early. The thing started at 11 o'clock, I think. Dude, they didn't even have the posters up for FSGA to tell people where to go. But I was there, baby, because that's what I'm talking about. And got to meet Chris and chopped it up a little bit, explained the application, showed him what we had, because we had actually drafts going every hour just to show everybody each phase possible to make sure everybody had eyes on it. And he just loved it. And what he did is that, you know what, you're going to stay by the hip with me. I'm going to get you introduced to everybody you need. I'm going to get you a part of the, extended relationship with the cookout. And I got you, bro. And from that time till the rest of FFGA up until now, he's been one of the greatest support systems. And again, shout out to other members. Like you have your Tip Major, you have the Nick Stan, right? There's so many people I can't even say them all. Like
Ed Williams too.
Yes,
Ed
Williams is huge. Ed Williams is a huge part of us, and Nick making connections as well. But we were just dudes shooting shots, and you have people that you meet that can really just open the door for you, and they don't need to. They don't need to. They don't, and they're just having that opportunity for getting introduced to the cookout, building those relationships, and now actually trying to do our due and support the initiative and be able to help out as best as we can, and taking our backgrounds and adding that opportunity and insight, whatever we can do to help this grow, because I think it's such a beneficial thing for the community and for minorities all around, for people to get connected and find ways to get access to things that maybe they thought they never could, because I was one of those guys. Nick was one of those guys, and anything is possible. Like it just gives you that fire and hope that really anything is possible if you stick with it, you meet the right people, and just shoot your shot. So that's my take on the cookout.
Oh, fantastic. So, okay. So I want to talk modern day football. Looking ahead, Nick, you're a Giants fan. Imran, you're a Jet fan. So I want you guys to take 60 seconds. Nick, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
Kind of like give me kind of like the fantasy relevant players you're keeping an eye on, and what do you want to see them do before training camp starts?
I mean, Saquon is man, Saquon's not on the Giants anymore.
He's a bird. He's a dirty bird.
I know. Darren Waller. Oh wait, Darren Waller might be retired. I don't know. It's super tough for the Giants this year. Daniel Jones coming back from a crazy injury. Jalen Hyatt is somebody I'm hoping does something this year for the Giants in particular. I know there's talk about us getting a receiver high in the draft. Any possible way to trade up and get Marvin Harrison Jr. would be a dream. If we were to trade up even higher and get Caleb Williams, one of the quarterbacks, phenomenal as long as it's not J.J. McCarthy. No disrespect, Mr. McCarthy. God bless. Hope you have an amazing career. But I'd like to see maybe a Drake May, a Caleb Williams, Daniels, one of those guys. So for the Giants in particular, not going to lie, I don't have high hopes for any like fantasy killers. I go blue bloods when I'm thinking about who to draft top of the CMCs, the Tyreek Hills. It's crazy to say, Imran mentioned him before, but Kelsey still doing it at a tight end position, being drafted as high as he is. I always try to sprinkle in the young guys. Got burned a few times. Bijan last year had really high expectations. Had a few highlights, but for the most part wasn't the greatest. Kyle Pitts, I stuck with him every single year so far, and I think I'm passing this year on the pitch train to see what happens. And yeah, I think I'm going to stick with the blue bloods and sprinkle in some of the younger guys, the rookies that are coming in. CJ Stroud last year was an amazing pickup. I ended up picking him up as a backup quarterback and ended up inserting him in my starting lineup. So you get those diamonds in the rough that you don't expect a lot from, but then they always bubble up to the surface. But in terms of my G-men, I'm leaning on the defense. I'm hoping Jones has a bounce back year. They get that nice receiver, the offensive line. Andrew Thomas comes back and does his thing like he's been doing. Neal lives up to form, and hopefully that offensive line gels and keeps Jones upright for the whole season.
Oh man, Jets, Jets,
but wait,
Imran.
He played more than 4 plays. Daniel Jones. Sorry, Imran. I'm going to turn it over to my Jet counterpart.
Okay. So I say this every year, right? The Jets are going to the Super Bowl. No. Okay. So like, listen, I'm a Jet fan to the depth of me, but I'm also a realist. But I have to say this season, Joey D put in work. That O-line finally put some focus on it. Morgan Moses, I'm a little worried about because I know we had him. He was kind of falling off a little bit, but I think it's still a solid person that we got compared to who the hell we had last year. The line's revamped. So I'm hoping a little bit more protection, a little bit of opportunity for Brees to run a little bit better because Brees did great. Brees is going to be that dude. I'm just trying to figure out where I would take him, right, to be honest, because I want to chip with him. I love Brees. He's going to go expensive, right?
Oh, he's a first rounder. He's a first rounder.
He's going to be expensive, right? Garrett Wilson, the fact that he had a down year, I mean, he still had 1,000 yards, but a down year definitely because he only had those blow-up games. He's going to be relevant as long as, again, Rodgers is healthy, right? Let's put it out there. I do like the fact that we grabbed Tyrod. I like that. Tyrod is a good backup, a case, or when Rodgers gets injured, right? I got to be real. Then when Tyrod Taylor gets,
that's only happened once. You know, I mean,
it only happened once. But remember, it's the Jets, so you got to be real. I've been there all the way. No matter all the hopes and dreams I had, things happen, right? But yeah, I think as long as Rodgers is healthy, the addition of Mike Williams, great. Like I think it was great addition. If he's healthy, if he stays healthy, I know Mike Williams. I've drafted him actually last year in one of my teams. I drafted him, Nick Chubb, and I had Deontay Johnson to start off with. So and I still made it to the playoffs, which is crazy. Just putting it out there. But that was another situation, right? So again, if we're looking for longevity, I'm just hoping that Mike Williams can stay healthy, and if he can, it's going to be a dangerous situation. I think we're going to have a really good team to work with. Xavier Gibson is nice on the quick routes that he can do. Let him stay quick. Let him stay underneath and maybe not seen. He'll slip and kind of do his thing. But the line is everything. If that line can stand up, hold the ground, we have great opportunity. Honestly, a pickup for fantasy is that Jets defense. That Jets defense is going to be scary again. We were booty last year when it came to the offense, but the defense was on point. And time again, they somehow showed out, even though we gave up some points at certain games. They still showed out. With Hassan Reddick, I think that was a great trade. I'm happy, really happy we got that. I'm happy we kept Chuck Clark. I just want to make sure, again, he stays healthy and we're looking good on the safety position. corners is corners. I'm excited for that defense. I want to see them pound out. I'm glad we got the Williams brothers still together. Love those guys. I love the energy that they got. CJ taking that pay cut was huge, right? It's just the Jets are looking different. They're feeling like more a family, more a team. The energy is changing. I'm just hoping we can keep it together and keep it pushing. Again, I think it's all relying on that line. That line's holding up more than the offense is holding up the structure of the team, if you look at it deeper like that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I got one last thing to close with. I know you guys are in New York. I know you get great food of all kinds in New York. I want you to give me your favorite Mexican food.
Oh, for me, tacos. And it sounds corny. It sounds super American, but you give me taco chihuas from Phoenix, Arizona. There's a place in the city called Los Tacos. Amazing Al Pastor. Give me those all day, and I am okay. Like my wife and I, we go whenever we travel. Like tacos are her thing as well, and we'll do like taco tours wherever we go. That's known for again Phoenix. We probably went to 7 taco spots in one night and just tried a bunch of different tacos. So Taco Chihuas in Phoenix and Los Tacos in Manhattan. There's one on 42nd Street and one at the Chelsea Market. If you're in New York, from New York, good place to try out.
Awesome. Imran, mi amigo.
So I have like diet restrictions, right? So I got to eat halal meat because I'm Muslim. I'm a practicing Muslim. So, and plus shout out to my Muslims. Ramadan just ended. Today was Eid Mubarak to my fam. I can finally eat again. Oh my God. I was starving for 30 days, but I can eat again. But talking about all this food, there's a halal birria taco spot in Lower East Side. And for me to find that flavor, for me to find that genuine food, oh my God, I forgot the name of it.
Game changer.
But dude, just thank you for hooking me up, guys. Thank you for getting some halal meat in there and blessing a man that just needs some tacos in his life. So birria tacos, and you got to go with burritos, man. I need some chunky burritos, man. No matter how much it takes you to the bathroom, I need it, and I need it spicy. Spicy. I need it. Give it to me, baby.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, mis amigos. One last shout out. Give me one last shout out for Generations Fantasy before we close up shop.
In terms of just something we have going on, or
or where they can find the app and everything.
Oh yeah, app, just search Generations Fantasy Football on the App Store, the Play Store. Downloadable right now. Start up a league. Tell a friend to tell a friend. And just if I could just leave one lasting message. I know we kept talking about the five guys just coming together and doing it. We also do have a group of advisors. We do have the cookout. And when they say it takes a village, it really does take a village to do anything. And if you're into something and you have something that you love, reach out to folks. People are interested. There are a lot of good people out there that invest time. I know we mentioned Ed Williams, and I'll make it super brief. Random LinkedIn message as well. Guy's a very known guy in the fantasy industry. One of the directors of the FSGA randomly reached out. Hey, I have this wacky idea. I'd love to run it by you. Took 20 minutes out of his day to have a conversation with me and point me in the right direction and give me advice. These former NFL players that I'm saying randomly reached out to them, ran into one of them in person, and they took time out to sit there and listen. And are you going to get no's? Yes. You'll probably get 100 no's for every one yes. That just means you have to ask 1,000 people to get 10 yeses. Nothing wrong with that. But there's a lot of people that care. There's a lot of people that invested time in us. And again, we're just starting off, and we just want to show all the love, appreciation, respect, and again, just thank yous to everybody who's helping us out. Jorge, this has been an amazing opportunity connecting with you, your audience, and we thank you so much. So again, thank everybody out there. Really appreciate it. Generations coming to a mobile phone near you.
Absolutely.
Imran,
any last words?
Yeah, I was gonna say definitely check out the YouTube. We got a gameplay tutorial. We got your gameplay tutorial built into the application. So once you download it, you click the video, you learn how to play, and go ahead and whip some. Open up a can, baby. Get some Stone Cold going, right? and like again, shout out again. Take a look at our Twitter, Generations FA10. You can check out my Twitter, Pervaiz07. You can check me on LinkedIn, Instagram. Talk to us. You know, like I said, we just want to be able to hear from you, see what we can do to get better. And we're just a couple of guys that just want to chop it up. Shout out to the wifeys. Wifeys have been supporting us. We know that, right? Holding us down.
Absolutely.
That's La Familia to the death of us, right? And you got to thank them for everything that they're doing to help us out to make sure we can kind of accomplish what we want to accomplish. Shout out to you, Jorge. Shout out to the Familia. Shout out to the cookout. Shout out to Marcus. Shout out to Chris. Shout out to Tip. Shout out to Greg Kellogg. A lot of different shout outs there. But just, again, like Nick said, appreciate everybody's love.
Oh, man. And Gator, thank you for saying, hey, appreciate
Better
it.
late than never. Appreciate you.
Hey, yeah. Go back and listen to it. Go back and watch this. You can go back and watch the replay on YouTube, or you can watch it on. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, audio podcasts. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Muchas gracias. I'd love to see that number of people who watched us live today. However long you listen, muchas gracias. And remember, todos somos familia. Salud.
Thank you.